You know, we tend to think of major health conditions in their own separate boxes. But what if two of the biggest, I'm talking about diabetes and liver disease, aren't just neighbors, but are actually fueling the exact same fire inside our bodies? This really is the perfect way to look at it. It's not about two separate problems at all. It's one interconnected metabolic crisis that links them both. And this connection, it's way more common and way more silent than most of us realize.
Get this, 70%. I mean, that's just a staggering number, right? It means the vast majority of people with type 2 diabetes are also walking around with a significant fat buildup in their liver. It's a condition now called MASLD, or metabolic dysfunction-associated steatotic liver disease. And the scariest part? Most of them have absolutely no idea it's even happening. And that is the absolute crux of the issue. This isn't some illness that screams for attention in its early stages. Oh no, it's a silent partner to diabetes, just quietly causing damage behind the scenes. And that's exactly why we need to talk about this link.
So, how does this whole thing work?
Well, it's not a one-way street. What we're really looking at is a destructive, self-reinforcing cycle. A vicious loop where each condition just makes the other one worse. So, let's break it down. First things first, let's get our terms straight. You've probably heard of fatty liver disease before, right? Well, the medical world has updated the name to MASLD to be a lot more precise. And honestly, this new name does a brilliant job of explaining the core issue. The liver is basically acting like a mirror, reflecting the overall metabolic health, or dysfunction, of your entire body. Okay, so think of it like this. On one side, you have the high blood sugar and insulin resistance from type 2 diabetes. That combo is literally pushing fat into the liver, which then sparks inflammation. But, and this is key, it's a two-way street. That now fatty, inflamed liver can't do its job right. It starts messing with your body's ability to control blood sugar, which in turn makes the diabetes even harder to manage. See the loop? Let's walk through how it builds, step by step. It all kicks off with insulin resistance. That's the main trigger. That leads to toxic fat building up and around your organs, especially your liver. Then other things like an imbalance of bacteria in your gut can come along and just ignite system-wide inflammation. And finally, that struggling, compromised liver feeds right back into the system, making the diabetes worse and locking that whole cycle in place. So what happens if this vicious loop is just left to spin and spin? Well, the progression is quiet at first, but believe me, where it's headed is incredibly serious. The risks just keep escalating over time, leading to some severe and potentially irreversible damage. So the path of damage usually starts with simple steatosis, which is just fat in the liver. But if inflammation joins the party, it escalates to a much more serious stage called MASH. From there, the liver can actually start to form scar tissue. That's a stage called fibrosis. And the final, most severe stage, that's cirrhosis, heavy scarring that can lead to liver failure. So just how much does having diabetes accelerate all of this? The answer is dramatically. A person with type 2 diabetes has a risk of developing dangerous liver scarring, that fibrosis we just talked about, that is up to 5 times higher than someone in the general population. That is a massive increase in risk. But here is the most critical point of all. Even though we're focused on the liver, the #1 cause of death for people with MASLD isn't liver failure. It's cardiovascular disease. That metabolic fire is damaging the entire system, and your heart is often the biggest casualty. Okay, that was a lot of bad news. But here's the good news, and it's really good news. This cycle can be broken. The power to change this entire trajectory is real. It all comes down to taking control of your overall metabolic health with a proactive strategy. So, the million-dollar question is, what does that actually look like? How do we jump in and stop this destructive feedback loop in its tracks? Well, thankfully, the path forward is pretty clear. So here's your action plan. #1, get screened. If you have type 2 diabetes, the guidelines now say you should be evaluated for MASLD, period. Second, focus on weight management. It is one of the most powerful things you can do to improve both conditions at the same time. Third, embrace lifestyle changes. Every small step truly makes a big difference. And finally, manage all the related risk factors, like your cholesterol and blood pressure, not just your blood sugar. So the big takeaway is this. We need a whole new mindset. We've got to stop thinking about these as two separate issues. From now on, when you think about managing your diabetes, you should also be thinking about caring for your liver. They are one and the same fight. You see, at the end of the day, this is all about empowerment.
Understanding this connection gives you the power to ask the right questions, to seek out the right tests, and to take the right actions to protect not just your liver, but your entire future health.
Let's just end on this powerful idea. This condition is everywhere, especially for people with diabetes, so the condition itself isn't rare. What's rare and what's the real problem is when it gets missed. So the question I'll leave you with is this. Now that you know the connection, what's your next step going to be to protect your health?